Hey everybody, this is Moke. I'm just doing kind of a little tour of my presets. This is a Who medley we do. It was actually tone matched, I think, to one of their tunes, and I'd see the same thing. The tone match alone sounded real realistic, but for continuity's sake, I added one of my standard cabs with it, and that way I blend them, and it still gives it that tone matched vibe, but it still retains a lot of the character of the rest of my tones, so that it's not a huge jump in tone, you know? And of course, same thing. That one brings in a little bit of a bump. Later in the song, I need to be just a little louder to keep up in the medley. The next part of the medley, it's the rest of the band just plays harder. It's that kind of song. So that other level didn't quite keep up. So this lets me run the scene 2 at the last end of the song. And of course, there's a little solo piece which brings in a different filter, which is pulling up on the high end, believe it or not, and throwing extra 2 dBs, and also, from about 3K up, it adds a shelf, because I go to neck pickup, and it's for like... That's not much to that one. Another weird one with that side chain that does similar to that Tom Petty tune. It's got a jangly kind of thing that adds in later, and I put the flanger after the delay, so the delay is kind of always going with this kind of washy flange sound. If I put it in front of it, it didn't quite work the same. So I put the flange afterwards, so even the delays are flanging in the same way. You know what I mean? They don't. The echoes don't overlap as the flanger sweeps. The sweep is one sweep all the time, and not multiple sweeps of delays that overlap over themselves and kind of wash it out. But anyway, that's what I did. And there's a little bit of EQing going on to make that the tone for what I want. And what it sounds like is this. And then later in the song, an extra guitar comes in. Hear all that going on? In the mix, it sounds pretty cool. It just builds it up real big, so even though there's only one guitar player, it sounds all big. And the solo on this one, I'm using one of the different AC20s, but I actually am using a dry block this time. Good old tube screamer. Tone up a little bit, and I usually run the drive all the way nothing and crank the level. And that gives you this low and high cut, and definitely makes it sound different, but nice mid-range boost. Compressor stays on. Same amp, same cab. Tone match is the same. That's actually tone matched to this song. There it is right there. And what I usually do for that same continuity's sake is, if I'm going to keep the tone match block instead of turning it into a cab, I usually tone match most of the time anyway with a cab on. And I just use the tone match as a corrective EQ, which I can dial back. So it's as if I'm running a bypass around it. So I'm still getting a lot of the cab sound, good old basket weave TV with a 57. So I'm still getting most of that. This tone match gets me partway there, but if I run it full, same thing. It's a little too drastic of a difference. So for continuity's sake, I like to use tone matching, and I want to get as close as I can to these songs so it completes the full illusion when we play it. But you can go too far, and I learned that on my own. My first round of patches were very, very close sounding, but in the show it was just too weird. So you tone matchers out there, take that to heart. During the solo, these AC 20s and 30s sound really cool when you hit them with a boost. They have a nice mid-rangey, just really cool sound. And here's another Bryan Adams tune, Cuts Like a Knife. This one I'm doing some weird stuff with the pitch block, going through a clean amp, Deluxe Verb, with the rotary going on, and so I'm simulating another organ sound. I'm the only guy in the band, so I'm trying to fill as much sonic space as I can. And in this one, I'm also using this filter block. It's just basically a filter block. I call it a block, but I am blocking it. Right now, it's letting it bypass the drive. So the drive is still there to run this keyboard sound. I like a little drive in front of the amp, in front of the pitch block. Makes for a nice kind of grind, so it sounds like an old Hammond that they used to, plug into guitar amps and drive them up a little bit. So I get that drive sound out of it. And it's running through the same cab system as the guitar, one of my standard thing, but I'm using 2 in stereo only to keep the organ sound in stereo still, because the cab, if it was mono, would get rid of all the stereo effect going on with the rotaries, which really helps that stand out in the mix compared to the guitar, which really isn't in stereo, although there is a little stereo chorus there. So anyway, when I go to scene 2, it kills the drive, and that's because it's a part of the song where I want the keyboard to be quieter. I actually don't use scene 2 too much anymore. I usually just do it from my volume knob now. And then in scene 3, it's starting to get where I'm in my solo stuff. Here's another, oh, there it goes again. I think it's because my MFC is connected. Yeah, dang it. There it goes. Anyway, so now this one turns off, and it's set to mute, by the way. So that stops it, and now the amp is being fed from the drive block. So that same drive block is double dutying and giving me a drive block in front of the other amp. CPU, even though there's a lot in the AXIVX compared to maybe like the AX8, which wouldn't work for me because of this kind of nonsense. But you have to get creative and use your resources as wise as you can. I wish I had more XY instances like some of the other models do, the filter block XYs and things. Boy, that'd be handy. But anyway, I don't think it's going to happen for this line. But anyway, so let's hear what some of this sounds like. You don't hear the keyboard line. When the song starts, it's not really in it, and it's actually set up on an expression pedal that I can bring in and out when I want. And this the delay of the volume is controlled by a scene here somewhere. You can go in here and take a look at what's going on. Now it's actually one of the externals. Okay, I'll run across that in a second. External 3 is running my rotary level. Okay, so that's where I'm controlling the level. So it's like I was saying with CPU usage and getting creative, I don't need a volume block. I could have either tapped off the amp block. I could have did it from there, but I just happened to choose the rotary. So now you can see my volume right there. So when I have this set up for PC reset is on. So when I first go to this preset, no matter where my controller is, that's down here on the floor, the setting that you have in here is the one it goes to first until you take it over with the pedal. So like even if my pedal's floored, which I usually leave all my pedals in the floored position, they're set up that way, so I don't have to try to remember where to put them. If there's a reason I need to, I'll put the PC reset on so that it ignores the pedal setting and goes with whatever set, which can be completely different from these two settings. You could have it, go from, 0 to +6, as a little boost. But if you have this set to 0 and PC resets on, it starts at 0. So that can be handy, or starts at 20 or 0, 100 or whatever you want. It can be really handy. It's a little confusing, but once you figure it out, it's really awesome. So at least the preset loads with a bunch of different things in a certain position the way you want to start, and then as you use your pedals, you can take over and do what you want with them. And anyway, there's the organ sound now because I got the pedal pushed up. So later in the song, I can bring it in. I got my volume rolled back a little bit. I think that's what I used to use Scene 2 for, but some of the songs I just got used to using my volume now that it actually works. My old modelers didn't do anything. It got quieter, but it just made it ugly. But anyway, so that gives me that. Now also in one of these filter blocks, yeah, I'm using this as a little bit of a boost. When I pull back my one pedal, it increases this line, and I'll show you why. I can do a part of the song where it goes. That lets me crank up the keyboard line for a second, and then that multi-delay keeps it running, as it's also tied in the input gain. As I throttle back down, it goes back to 0. And then so it's not on, and I can go. And I can switch back to the guitar while that overdub basically continues on. So it lets me kind of do a little keyboard overdub in part of that song. And other than that, this is a lot like the other Bryan Adams tune, a drive in front. This drive now goes through here, and for the solo.